Hey, how are you? My name's Felt. Welcome back to Magic the Gathering Arena. Today we're looking at a Dimir control deck I made for Explorer that I've been really enjoying playing. It is a bit jank, a bit hodgepodge, a bit all over the place. It doesn't quite have everything that I want in it. For example, the mana base leaves a lot to be desired. I only have like one pathway and then one watery grave. I'd rather have full play sets of both of those, just to make the deck a little more even, and then maybe some of the other fast lands like the cycle lands perchance. But this is just what I have, so this is what we're playing. And this is just Dimir control. It's just kind of a classic Dimir control strategy. You're not quite win conless. You do have an amazing win con with Shark Typhoon, and then Sorin and Ashiok can just consistently make creatures for you to attack with. One important card that I think you should probably include over one of the cards that I included is Ritual of Soot. Now, if the game will... There we go. Ritual of Soot is a really good 4-mana board wipe that destroys all creatures with mana value 3 or less. It's really good in Dimir control because Dimir's board wipes are typically a little more expensive. Like Shadow's Verdict, for example, is a 5-mana board wipe that does something similar, but it's a copy. It's a copy of a card that I have, so I'm including it over Ritual of Soot because, as you can see, I'm out of wild cards because I've been crafting a lot of decks lately. But it works really well into a lot of matchups. Into Selesnya Angels, for example. They typically, I do mean typically, not all the time, but typically, don't find ways to have protection or indestructible on their deck. And most of the Selesnya Angels deck is 3 mana or less, so Ritual of Soot hits it really hard. It also does a really good job of tempo controlling Mono Green Devotion because all their mana dorks, and then like Old Growth Trolls, for example, get hit by it. Although in that exact instance, I'd probably Shadow's Verdict instead. So those cards are kind of a case of you could probably sideboard them in for each other, depending on the matchup and multiple copies as well. But we also do run Meathook Massacre, which is a really flexible board wipe and just a really powerful card in general. Other staples, so to speak, in the deck that I really think you should include copies of. Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust is amazing. It's good graveyard hate. It can be escaped to be cast multiple times. You might want to include multiple copies on the sideboard if you so choose. Full plus set of Fatal Push. Just completely impossible to not say use this. Always use a full play set of Fatal Push IMO in this format. Being able to, on 1 or on 2, be able to hit any 1 or 2 drop is amazing. And if your opponents decide to start killing your Planeswalkers or Shark tokens, for example, Fatal Push all of a sudden is able to destroy things all the way up to 4 CMC. Thoughtseize, probably include more than one, but out of wild cards. I include a Thought Erasure personally, as just like an extra card that helps along the way. Other powerful cards that we have access to include Negate and Censor. We run and Sinister Sabotage, just because I wanted one more counterspell in the deck, really. I consider playing more Censors or more Negates depending on the matchup. Once again, that's kind of sideboard options. Drown in the Lock is another great card that I feel like fits in this deck pretty well, but it works better if you're playing the super control strategy and you are hitting their hand and removing their cards often, because then the effects of the card come into play faster. There's certain matchups where it's kind of a dead draw if your opponent is just waiting to play their more expensive stuff. Narset Porter of Veils is a very important part of this deck. It gives you great card advantage to go and hit your better land drops. Not land drops, sorry. Your better, more powerful cards. Sorin and Ashiok are just ways to create card advantage and creatures. Enemy Deluge is super important in any control deck right now. It's just amazing. Sublime Epiphany is something that we have as a top-end option. It just does a really good job. It's legal in the format, and I really like the card anyways. One of the all-stars of the deck is Commit to Memory. For those of you who don't know, Commit can actually quote-unquote counter uncounterable spells. It puts target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library second from the top. It is not countering it. It is taking the spell and putting it second from the top, which is a different effect. Very important. Memory half of Commit to Memory is insane because everybody shuffles their hand in graveyard into the library and then draw 7 cards. When you're playing a game where you have lots of options as to what you're trying to hit in order to remove, bounce, and control the tempo, that's really nice. You know what makes it even better? If you use it with a Narset on board, your opponent doesn't get to draw any cards. They get to draw 1 card, meaning that you get to have a full grip, and then your opponent gets to have nothing. And if you can manage to cast that with some mana open, you could potentially be Thought Seizing or Thought Erasuring them immediately afterwards to either get an idea of what they have, aka did they have a land, or get an idea of, oh, well, they're discarding that now. This is a really great deck. It controls tempos very well. Stuff you could think to include into it if you want creatures is Torrential Gearhulk. Torrential Gearhulk combos super well with Sublime Epiphany, by the way, making it so that if you have Torrential Gearhulk on board, cast Sublime Epiphany, and then make a copy of Gearhulk, the new Gearhulk coming in will be able to cast another Sublime Epiphany, which will make another Gearhulk, which means you'll get 3 Gearhulk and 15 power, 15 power, 18 toughness on board instantly. There's actually a couple of combos around this. You could potentially play multiple Sublime Epiphanies and Gearhulks in order to pop off on a combo, but I don't feel like that's necessary, and I feel like it's a little too intensive and slow-paced for this deck. This deck would much prefer to play a tempo-controlling game and get out stuff like Sorin, Ashiok, and Shark Typhoon on curve. Either way, hope you enjoyed the deck. Deck list will be down in the description. Like I said, I know it's a bit jank, but it's what I got access to. Let's hop right into things. We're going first. I don't hate this hand. We'll keep it. We are playing some best of 1 for this. I feel like this is a deck that would probably do better in best of 3, honestly, over best of 1. But, big ol' butt. It's simply a matter of best of 1 is a better way to record gameplay. Sorry, Narset. I can't afford to be hitting a Narset right now. Looks like my opponent is probably playing some type of 5-color pile. Oh, it's gates. Okay, since it's gates, I want to hold up the sensor. As much as I'd love to cycle the sensor away, I really want to hold it up. Because it's gates, and they play cards like Azusa. This is why this deck would typically do better in best of 3. I'd like sideboard in more hard counter spells. Oh, it's a Mazes and Win Con. Interesting. I'm assuming it's a Mazes and Win Con at least. Well, if they're going to play the Ram. Okay, cool. We got the Ram dead. Since they can't hit the Narset and the Ram is too slow, we're going to go ahead and do this. Go hunting down some stuff. We're going to grab Thoughtseize here. Not the greatest thing, but Gatebreaker Ram's a 3-drop. We could also use Guild Summit. What on earth? You tap any number of untapped gates, and you draw for each gate tapped this way. Interesting.
I have just the
Ooh, Ashiok. Hello, friend. We're going to start by Thoughtseizing them. I'm assuming that, yeah, they don't have anything worth playing. We're going to Rona's Vortex away at the Gatebreaker Ram. Right here and now. Make them replay it. We are playing a hard tempo game here. Really trying to slow down my opponent. And they concede because they can see the writing on the wall. They can see that I'm full control. Ooh, we got a rank up out of that. Yeah, I think the Gates deck just... it's a cool deck, but I think they just realized that, like... I'm full controlling... Going crazy. Tons of removal, tons of bounce, tons of tempo. I am getting something like an Ashiok here soon. We'll be able to hit their hand pretty hard if I can get it on board on curve. Yeah. GG's Gates. Opponent goes first. We have... Man, if this had been like a Watery Grave instead of a, you know... Darkslick Shores, this would have been perfect hand, because then we could have, you know... Hall, Darkslick... Or, well, you know, Hall, Watery Grave, Castle of Ventress untapped. Narset on curve. Hold up counter magic in the meantime. I will. I will say, as much as I love the creature lands, they do sometimes throw a hitch in the curve. That's why I only include like 1 or 2 of each. Or like 1 or 2 total creature lands in a deck nowadays. I used to run more. I think it also depends on what deck you're running, right? Like if you're running like full control extra turns. Rogues? I'm confused. I thought rogues died. I thought people stopped playing rogues. Weird. We have potential to maybe pull something out here. I do wish my opponent would like stop holding up priority over nothing. We have to play like this here. Once again, if this was a watery grave, this would have been such a good hand. This is not a very good card for the most part, by the way, in terms of lands, but it is a dual land, and even if it enters tapped, it can be pretty good. We are in a tad bit of trouble here, but Rogues isn't a terrible matchup for us. That's fine, honestly. We don't need that in our hand right now anyway, so. Rogues isn't a terrible matchup for us. Technically, I could have held the Censor for a different card. Ooh, Fatal Push. Which one do I want to play? I kind of want to have double black at some point, so we'll just do this. We can Fatal Push the Merfolk Windrover. We'll Fatal Push it before combat, probably, just in case they have another Kaido. Do they play counterspells in their deck? And if they do, they're not playing them now. Cool. We now have access to commit in case they try and flash in some threats. Or we can just Shark Typhoon and make a little 2/2 Sharky boy. Having the commit here with a Narset in hand makes me excited, honestly. For tempo. They scryed to the top. Interesting. Wonder what they're going to play here. They clearly have something that they're thinking about playing. I think we're just going to cycle the Shark Typhoon. It's not really doing anything for us right now. And making a 2/2 Shark isn't the end of the world. And my opponent plays nothing. Opponent plays nothing. Noted. Alright, we're just going to continue to wait then. I have no problem holding up interaction here. I don't think I care about hitting a lot of what they play. I think this is actually a pretty good commit target because it means they don't get the adventure half of it. Or they don't get like the creature part of it, right? Like they don't get to have that sit outside the game for a second there. They have to get it and replay it. We can now play Narset while holding up a counterspell. Which is moderately important here. If we get another land, we are allowed to play Memory, do the thing that I talked about in the intro, you know. I think we do protect him. I think we protect Narset with Negate. I don't think we care about protecting the Shark with Negate. We grab Censor before they have a chance to do anything, making life pretty good for yours truly. We also have access to Rona's Vortex in case they, like, kill my Shark and flash in a Rogue. They do have their Brazen Borrower. Yeah, we can't really play anything there, because we need to be holding up counter magic to deal with a Brazen Borrower.
Meditate.
Speaking of counter magic. Yeah, we need to go searching for lands. We need to hit our lands. Sorry, Cling to Dust, you can work from the graveyard anyways. Hey, we hit our land. We now have Memory online. Or, well, next turn. I can't imagine my opponent lets me play it, but we have it. Yes, we are in combat now, opponent. I have shown no initiative towards attacking you, though, so I don't know why you're thinking, oh, I have to interact with something. You really don't. We're counterspelling this because it kills the other part of it. You might thinking that we're like 1 for 2ing them, or like 2 for 1ing them, like negating and committing to memory. Commit to memory was to get it to be on the memory side, not for any other reason, just straight up. It was so that it would be on the memory side. They're really worried about commit to memory. You can see it. Okay, Ruin Crab. Sure. They are absolutely Dimir Mill. They don't have a land? We'll consider. We technically just only have Censor as a counterspell, but this I don't think I want to just run out memory here. I think I just want to wait. Let's just kill the Ruin Crab. It fills up their graveyard more to make drown in the lock better. Drowned in the lock. I feel like that's the bigger thing right now, is that I'm making drown in the lock better for myself. I can now counter magic up to like 4 CMC with drown in the lock, which is nice. Because yeah, we're basically just like hunting for the perfect time to go after memory. And I think my opponent knows that. Which is why we're playing such a like slow tempo game. We're looking for an excuse to memory. You know? And it, like we're just looking for our opportunity. Looking for a time to be able to cast memory here. We're gonna go ahead and cycle. I want a blue and black mana open so I can drown in the lock any possible counterspell that they could have. Or any possible Brazen Bar. I don't know what they're running. I really don't. They have not been playing out anything. So I'm essentially flying blind here. I'm assuming Rogues doesn't run too many counterspells. You know what? If they're going to do that, we're going to do this. We need to watch and figure out what they're doing. Ah, there it is. There's some counter magic. We have our extra land now. We can play memory, and we have drown in the lock. They need 2 counterspells here to take out memory. 2 counterspells. Do you have 2 counterspells, opponent? If they have double Spell Pierce in hand, they have a chance, right? Okay, they're killing my shark. That's fine. I don't care if my shark dies. Does memory resolve? You have 2 cards left in hand. Okay, opponent. I guess you're just going to make it so that memory draws you 0 cards? Do they not know how Narset works? I don't know if they know how Narset works. Oh no! I've talked about that in the intro section, I think, but Narset prevents you from drawing extra cards. She has a passive on her. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. They forced themselves into drawing 0 cards when I played memory. Oh no. Oh, that's bad. I'm sorry, Rogues. GG's, though. We're going first. Unkeepable hand. I guess. Why drop the Sublime Epiphany over Commit to Memory? Commit's a 4 mana spell. Sublime is always max. I have no reason to kill that, do I? I have no reason to kill that right now. One damage per turn isn't scary. They play like a Thalia or something, I might Fatal Push it. I hate that that's a that's a 1 mana spell. Weird. Let's go the Lookout. Let's go looking for lands. Oh, thank goodness. No. My hand is my hand. Your hand is my hand too, though, as you'll soon find out. What you got, buddy? Another Legion's Landing. I think the Marshal's probably the best bet. Another land on top is good. We can bounce one of the little tokens here in a second. We'll do it if they try and get this thing to flip, because we don't want them to play the Elite Spellbinder. Stop trying to look at my hand. My hand is my hand. I technically have Field of Ruin to blow this up anyways, but we just don't want them to have access to more cool stuff, really. And we can just play Commit if they get a, Woodbay. We're really just looking for excuses to play cards here. Playing a tempo game plan. We're slowly dying, though. Alright, Memory's our best bet here, so we can get a full fresh hand. Much better for me than it is for them. Shadow's Verdict! Ooh, baby! What a hit. We can also just meat hook him. Meat hook's much better because I believe it gives me life because it's when creatures your opponent control dies. Oh well, even if they hit meat hook here, we have Shadow's Verdict in response. And they can flip that, which makes stuff get hexproof, but it's not a big deal. They're really grabbing the meat hook, huh? I guess they want that to be a... I mean, I can still meat hook for 2, can't I? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I can still meat hook for 2, opponent. Right? Can't I still meat hook for 2? Which means that this whole game plan just straight up didn't work? Okay. That's what I thought. And we still have a Shadow's Verdict. Which we can afford even if it gets made to be more expensive. By like an elite spellbinder, perhaps. Most of our stuff doesn't really care about what my opponent does. I can just play a really expensive Shadow's Verdict here, opponent. I do not care. We do not care. We will play a 7-mana Shadow's Verdict to destroy you and your graveyard. Good card, by the way. And we will play this because we don't really have anything else to do. They have this holding priority. We're doing pretty good here, though. Once we get, like, Castle of Antris down, we'll be able to start scrying good stuff to the top. Having 2 bounce/removal spells is always good. Destroy that. My opponent can make themselves hexproof and indestructible. I don't quite know why they would bother. I feel like that's a really silly time to be doing that, but okay. We'll bounce 1. We'll bounce the thing that busts their whole party. Because, well, why not? Oh no, my considers! Ah! You found me! I play Consider. Other reasons we were doing it in that order. Technically, we still could have played that spell. We have the 2 open mana, but... I do apologize, my throat's got something going on in it. Let's drink some water, maybe that'll help. Is my opponent salty roping? I think they're salty roping. I can't really tell. They could have DC'd, don't get me wrong. I've seen plenty of instances where playing something that like looks at a certain part of the game causes your game to just hard crash and then you DC. They could have just been salty roping though. I'm not sure. I think the fact that it went immediately to a rope means they DC'd. Not 100% sure, but I believe that means they DC'd. Luminarch Aspirant's a little annoying. We really need to go hunt for something cool like a Shark Typhoon. That works pretty well. We have tons of removal in our deck still somewhere. Maybe we could find a Fatal Push. That'd be cool. Secondary Meat Hook. Thank you, game, because that makes Shark Typhoon make a big shark. I think my opponent has a lethal line here, though. I think Cave of the Frost Dragon will give them lethal if they have a general way for it. We do have 2 Field of Ruins, though, so we can blow up the cave and the Legion's Landing if it flips. Oh, they're just going hard in the paint. Sheesh. 6. I mean, that's just 6 damage. So we're taking 7. We don't die. Opponent loses 1 life. I can play Meat Hook for 5, and I believe still get the Cave of the Frost Dragon. Maybe not. Oh no, I totally have it. And opponent scoops it up. Welcome to Dimir control, baby. We win with like 2 life or less every single game, I swear to God. Yeah, they were gonna have a real hard time. Having 2 Field of Ruins here means that I could blow up the Cave of the Frost Dragon if they decided to attack, which was silly because this is actually, I believe, a 5/5 at the moment. Or was it a 7/7? It might have been a 7/7 actually. So I could have blown up their Cave of the Frost Dragon and also blown up their Adanto, the first fort. Basically, having 2 fields in this exact instance means that these lands don't do anything, and they would have had to spend a long time getting this ready. I could have also had a Hull of the Storm Giants in the background. GG's, mono white weenies. Opponent goes first. I really like this hand. I don't like this hand. I take it all back. I take it back! Oh boy, time to take 3 life to Thoughtseize somebody. Oh, let's go! Mono red, you ain't got shit on me. You ain't got shit on me, Mono red. We will go first. The silly accent aside, we have a wonderful starting hand. Perfect 1/2/3 land. Pretty solid 1/2/3 cards. They might be playing a Finn. Wonderful, thank you, deck. We need multi-blue more than we need multi-black, so... What? How are you playing Feng of Shigeki and enchantments? That doesn't make any sense, opponent. I'm very confused. Alright, we got an extra Narset, so we're just gonna play the extra Narset and go hunting for some removal.
Mind and body should hone your prowess.
Shark Typhoon is wonderful. It gives us a chump blocker. My opponent could blow up my Narset, but I'm not really stressing it. I feel like we probably win this matchup, because it looks like it's green-white enchantments. And that deck barely has legs in Standard, but I guess there could be a card or two that I like just don't see coming from Pioneer, because I don't play this format that often, compared to as much as I've spent in Standard. I'm still relatively new to Explorer/Pioneer, in case you don't know, viewers. One of my favorite decks to play is still, like, is it Phoenix? Okay. An aura or equipment spell. It's a 3-drop? Okay, it's a 3-drop. Fun fact. I get to Fatal Push for free now. Or I get to Fatal Push onto a 3-drop now. Fatal Push works really well with Narset if they try and kill Narset off. I think, unfortunately, we're kind of stuck in the, Okay. If we get an extra land, we just get to meat hook them, though, which is beautiful. So they're kind of like auras? We have to counterspell that. It gets too big for meat hook. And we are not hitting our land drops in time. Oh my goodness, deck. Could you cut me some slack? No, apparently. Wow. We are 15 cards deep and we have seen 3 lands. We are in so much trouble here. Especially if they have more auras. Cleric class, not scary. Cleric class is not scary. We just need an extra land. That just affects their power, not their toughness, so we don't care. We will chump block because we just want to live. Ah, thank you, game. Oh my goodness. That was scary. Be gone. Can they get that stuff back with Cleric class? Eventually, yes, but that is 4 mana and 5 mana down the road. And when that becomes a problem, we have a Shieldred's Edict. Speaking of Shieldred's Edict, let's go see if maybe we can find a Fatal Push first.
Thoughtfulness before action.
Fatal Push so we can consider, more than anything. That's a really minor, like, tempo play there, in my opinion. But I feel like it's a pretty important tempo play. We can make them sack it with Shieldred's Edict in a second. We don't need the removal. We'll be able to commit to memory here soon in a second. Anyways, what do they get to do? Look at the top 4. Exile a creature enchantment. Oh, are they just gonna exile my meat hook?
This will cease your meddling.
Okay. Bye, Calyx. Oh no, my meat hook's gone.
Meditate and prepare.
Memory Deluge in case they don't play anything that I want to commit. Perfect. This is working out wonderfully, opponent. Thank you so much. And this loses a lot of value now because nothing's going to be in their graveyard after this. Do they have a way to draw a card? Nope. We will just play Memory. We will get a full grip. They will draw one card, and we will point and laugh. Not literally, but you get the idea. Commit to Memory is such a good wombo for Dimir. Especially because it just like refills your hand in such a wonderful way. We did unfortunately get a Drown in the lock. Not a very good card. Non-token. In this exact moment in time, but we'll probably eventually find a way to make it work. We could have slammed Shark Typhoon. Maybe would have been the right play. Okay, Naturalist. Hindsight thinks slamming the Shark Typhoon might have been the right play. Don't need that land right now. Slam Epiphany. Lovely. I think we have to play the Shark Typhoon here and just chance it. I think we have to just chance this. It looks like it worked out pretty well. The best they have is now a couple of 4/4s. They are both, technically, Audric gets around,
I won't forget our time together.
Technically, Audric can get around a lot of shenanigans that I can try and put out. In terms of, like, you know, trying to think of, like, the proper terms here. Yeah, we'll play a Narset. Just make ourselves a bunch of little jump blockers, make it hard for them to swing in. Meat hook. Wonderful. Thanks, game. You can swing in. They do both die. And we have Meat Hook now. Combat damage goes off. Your stuff dies. I profit, I guess.
Own your prowess.
Go ahead and Memory Deluge. Gain ourselves some life, exiling something of theirs, make a little Sharky Shark. We only have 5 open mana, meaning we cannot Sublime Epiphany, but I'm not exactly concerning myself with this. Oh no! He gets a 1/1. I mean, Alex. There would be a shame if we just, like, shoved that guy at the bottom of your library, huh? Later. We will now play a second Shark Typhoon. We are making all the sharks. It's so beautiful. They have one thing down there, so only if it's a 1-drop do we get to kill it. Let's Meat Hook for 2. Because we've already done our damage. We will technically do 2 extra damage there. These show up as 4/4s, by the way, because that's how much mana you paid into the Meat Hook. And it swings the battle pretty effectively there. Now we have a Legion of Sharks. And you have, I'm assuming, a land. Good game. Dimir, bringing it home. Yeah, this is the type of stuff you get to see with Dimir. It's It's a really fun deck. GG's opponent. Good job, enchantments. So that's Dimir Control and Explorer. I think I did a pretty good showing of the deck, honestly. I think I showed off a lot of what it can do. I showed off how you can just, like, slowly grind the game into a halt, and you don't really ever need to be ahead as long as you are not losing. You have access to tons of great ways to find what you need via Narset, Memory Deluge, all the Considers, Thought Erasures, and Sinister Sabotages, Surveil, Sublime Epiphany, Commit, Shark Typhoon drawing stuff. And between Meat Hook and Shadow's Verdict, you just have ways of keeping yourself in the game no matter what. And Shark Typhoon can really take over the game really, really fast if you're allowed to resolve it. I think I get to show it off once or twice. The Commit to Memory with Narset on board is just a winner. You need to be able to back it up. You need to be able to make sure that you can, like, let Narset live, and that you don't immediately die on the next turn to some form of haste. I don't think I had to play aggro very much at all, other than, like, one game where I think they insta-conceded, which was funny. To me. But if you can basically just make it so that you just have, like, just enough life to live through whatever's happening, Narset and then the memory half of Commit to Memory will just win you games. Redrawing a full hand and basically getting access to all sorts of stuff, even if you're just redrawing a full hand of lands, your opponent doesn't have anything. And among those lands will probably be some of your more fancy lands, like maybe a Castle of Ventress, or a Hall of the Storm Giants, or your Field of Ruins, or your Hive of the Eye Tyrants, things that'll keep you rolling. I don't think I ever got to show off how useful the lands are in all this gameplay. In the long, grindy control matchups, Castle of Ventress is invaluable. If it's like a Dimir Mirror, or you're playing into Azorius perchance, this will just allow you to scry on their instep and basically just drag what you want to the top of your deck. It'll force a Field of Ruin out of them at some point or another if they notice it. You could put Castle Locthwain in this deck, but that's, you know, I don't have one. I would probably recommend it, honestly. Castle Locthwain's really good as well, because it just lets you draw cards. But yeah, if they are hitting the Castle of Ventress with their Fields of Ruins, and you're allowed to maybe have Hall of the Storm Giants or Hive of the Eye Tyrant out, that is now one of those three basically gets to live, because on average you do not run more than 2 Field of Ruins in a control deck. You just don't really have the space in your mana base, right? And so because of that, one of them will typically get to live, and all of them are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And if you're able to play them out after just, like, refreshing your hand, it can just be a really, really game-ending situation for your opponent. I like this deck a lot. It's really spiced up the game for me. I was a little sad that I didn't really get to play Sorin or Ashiok. They can take over games pretty effectively as well if you can land them. Sorin's +1 allows you to either just, like, leave good cards on the top, or just, like, get lands in your hand for free. Lifelink Flying Vampires is always good. Ashiok can just, like, force your opponent to be discarding stuff, or technically exiling stuff with the -3, and then making little 2/3s that require answering with the plus. Really powerful Planeswalkers. Like I said, I don't think they got to see very much play. I think I only got to Sublime Epiphany once or twice, but that card's value should not be understated. Like I said, you might notice there's a lot of one-ofs. For Best of One, we kind of have to. Best of One's a very volatile format. You need to be prepared for a lot of scenarios. If you were playing Best of 3, I talked about it in the intro. Sideboard in more Cling to Dust, sideboard in, like, more counter spells, maybe some more Sinister Sabotages, sideboard some more Hand Hate, be able to sideboard out these creatures, sideboard in another Board Wipe or 2, sideboard in, like, a Torrential Gear Hulk and such. But this deck is very flexible. A lot of the core cards can be kind of shuffled in, out, and about. You don't really have, like, a clear win con other than Shark Typhoon. So just try and make sure that your Shark Typhoon doesn't get gone, because if you lose your Shark Typhoon and then you can't use Sorin or Ashiok to have creatures winning, you're no longer winning through combat. You're maybe milling your opponent out, which is just not going to happen typically, unless they're playing Azorius and drawing their whole deck as part of their game plan. But yeah, that's the deck, that's the game plan, that's the everything. Thanks for hanging out and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Deck list will be down in the description below if you want to check it out yourself. Thanks for hanging out and watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next one.